And I should acknowledge a couple of English teachers as well who are here, but we don't have experience. That is why I acknowledge Mr. English here advocate. I acknowledge Assistant Professor Dhanaprasad Pandit. Presence over here also. There are not many seniors. I can't name, and I don't want to waste my time. So, saying this, I hand over this mic to Chair Professor B. Prasad Sesner to conduct this very session.
Thank you, Doctor, and it's my great pleasure and honor to be the part of this organizing this program. And today we have very eminent personalities, especially talking about a contextualizing ecological democracy in the era of growth modernization. So we have a very eminent scholar here from the South Asia, particularly I have to say, and mostly from India and Nepal. In my right side we have Professor Swaraj. I'm not making mistake this time. Professor Swaraj, and formerly associated with Ishimori, and also formerly associated with an academician and very eminent scholar in Nepal. Dr. Asim Srivastav is here. Asim Srivastav is, if I have to say Asim Srivastav, he is probably you might have this leaflet also. He is a very active environmental economist, and he has been a freelancer writer and written several books. Probably he has brought one book. Okay, probably you have brought your book today, right? Okay, he has brought your book here. And I would like to request to have some of the discussions, particularly in areas of environmental economics, when we are contextualizing ecological democracy in this part of the world. And Professor Arun Kumar is here. Professor Arun Kumar. Similarly, we have Rajni Kapsh. She's not here. Mr. Vijay Pratap is here. Yeah, Vijay Pratap is here. Okay. Dr. Bishi Upreti. Yeah. Okay, this is the same. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. There is a slight change in the schedule, so let me little bit follow the time schedule also. First of all, without much taking time, let me request, since we have decided, keeping time in mind, we have decided to have two speakers here, Professor Swaraj and Dr. Asim Srivastav. Yes, so may I hand over the microphone to Professor Swaraj to speak on the matter. Thank you, sir.
Would you like me to speak? Yeah. It's okay? Fine? Okay. Or do we need to go there? It's okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. So I have about 10 minutes.
10 minutes, yes.
I will try to be brief. And I have to be brief because actually when Dr. Pakriyal invited me to speak today, I didn't have much background on the meeting and the whole proceedings. So I come from a physical science background. So being with social scientists is a pleasure because I learned so many things. So if I make some remarks which you find very odd, I hope you excuse me for being if I talk something out of context in contextualizing ecological democracy. First of all, when I was looking at the title, I tried to understand growth fundamentalism. What is growth fundamentalism? I tried to understand that. I just surfed on the web and also tried to see that this is something like a new phenomenon, mostly starting with Mr. Modi's success in India. That sort of seems to have triggered the discussion on growth fundamentalism. Essentially as a kind of, because some of the studies from Gujarat showed that the weaker sections, the minorities, did not benefit as much as it has been hyped about Gujarat development. So, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but it's basically growth fundamentalism is, I came to sort of understand that it has to do with the rise of Mr. Modi to power in India. And the fear associated with it, that maybe in his model or in the model of this growth fundamentalism, the minorities, and the poorer sections of the population and the marginalized people might be neglected, and only those who are from the upper middle class or middle class who are already in power, they might benefit from the growth. So on that basis, I was thinking that probably I'm talking more in terms of whether ecological democracy vis-a-vis growth fundamentalism. I thought probably it is a kind of two kind of growth models which we are probably discussing, the merit or demerit, or at least a kind of assessment of these two models. Growth fundamentalism, as understood, is exclusive, is understood to have, and so vis-a-vis versus, if you look into the sort of assumptions, or even some studies which cannot be said assumptions, which have drawn based on facts. But I think, the fear that it is exclusive does not seem to be well founded, particularly how it is exclusive, and isn't there a possibility that if there is a growth, then there is something more in the kitty, and that everybody will benefit out of it? I mean, how do we refute that? How do we say it won't happen? On what basis? Is it because one individual or one man on which we are just, sort of concerned with? Or if you talk broadly in South Asia, the type of development that we have seen in Nepal, from my own experience I can say, that development has been the benefits of development have been, the beneficiaries have been always the rich and the mighty. Those who were powerful, they have benefited. Those who were marginalized, they have not benefited. So in a general sense, yes, the growth fundamentalism or a similar sort of model, exclusive growth, exclusive development, does not benefit the marginalized, the minorities. There is said, but I think we need more facts. We need more studies to be able to pinpoint in what way and why it should be rejected, or why it should be modified, or how it should be changed, or not, or directly rejected. So I think this is one of the things that I was thinking. I am starting from the other side, and so we need more evidences. And now if we look into ecological democracy, we can call it, we can also name it, we can also say that it is inclusive democracy. And basic concern for ecological democracy seems to be how would it ensure inclusiveness and equitable growth, equitable growth, economically sustainable growth and development. This seems to be the major concern. And this is obviously very, very relevant because of the uncertainty that has been created by climate change in the more recent years, which has been now proved scientifically that global warming is happening, and climate change will bring extremes of events. It will increase uncertainties, your planning, and every kind of models that we have earlier in terms of physical sciences, I would say, or that is going to affect, even from economic point of view, the sort of stability or the situation that we were assuming that the climate, we consider climate itself is a kind of generalized view of weather over a long period of time. So naturally, many people thought that climate will be sort of repetitive, seasonal, and this will happen, this will not change in terms of time and space over a period of time, over a period of years time. But it is changing, it has been proved, and it will change, it will bring more extreme events, more rainfall, extreme rainfall events, drought, unusual weather situations, just like what happened with recently, the crisis that we faced here. So therefore, it is a very legitimate concern that ecological democracy could be probably a better form of democracy, which will probably lead to sustainable development and growth, which will be more inclusive. And the basis of such hope is the word ecology itself is a kind of, makes you aware that there is, everything is interrelated. Everything, all biological and non-biological, biotic, abiotic, both the systems in an environment, they are interrelated, and that's how we study ecology, the interrelationship between these, including if you consider man as also a part of the environment, and man and his relationship with other living beings, including plants, animals, and also non-living objects or bodies within that environment. So therefore, it has to, the realization that each human act has some kind of impact on the ecology or environment is itself a kind of, makes you aware that each behavior of human being, of any individual, can affect another person, can affect another human being, can affect, you can generalize it into, say, from the class, from one class to another class, one individual to another individual, one nation to another nation. So that way we can go on enlarging this idea, but basically nobody is really independent. It is interdependence and interrelationship between nations, between people, between environment, between various ecosystems. So therefore, I think ecological democracy, the moment we say democracy, is not just freedom and rights, the issue, but also as it ensures your right, it also has to ensure others' rights. And if there are inequalities, if there are the benefits are not equitable, then it has to be seen that the benefits have to be equal. Therefore, ecological democracy is definitely a preferable choice between, say, growth fundamentalism and ecological democracy. Now, just as in democracy we deal with, in a political sense, we deal with a state, in ecology we deal with a system we call ecosystem, and that ecosystem sometimes transcends national boundaries also. If we really look into what kind of ecosystems we are talking. So therefore, you can talk of a very small ecosystem and you can talk of a very large ecosystem. So it's a very inclusive term, And therefore, the development essentially is utilization of some of the resources for human welfare and enhancing the quality of life of people. That is development. So it entails, it incorporates the idea that for it you need some resources, and these resources have to be how to utilize these resources for human welfare without harming the resource base, so that the future generation is not debarred from enjoying the same benefit as the present generation. Otherwise, if we want to utilize all the resources within our generation and we don't care about future generation, then of course there is no problem. I mean, it is a sort of how you look at development. If you are concerned with earning or me only and not for the welfare of the people around me, then there is no problem. So we trust and we believe that ecological democracy or sustainable growth and sustainability will be ensured by this. Okay. I will now go to, go to the South Asian context. Basically, my concern is, from what I have seen, I have lived a long time, probably more than what most of you have lived. Probably I am probably the eldest person here in this room. But what I have seen is that whereas in science and knowledge it is universality, there is nothing like a national or regional or one continent and another continent or that sort of thing. Because science is universal, knowledge is universal. But still I find in South Asia, particularly I must confess here that after my retirement, I try to look beyond my profession, beyond my professional studies, beyond my background of physical sciences. I try to read theology, I try to read comparative religions and all that. And what I found was that ecology was discovered, the term ecology, which comes from the Greek word study of home, ecology, much earlier than that. If we read Buddhism, if we read Hinduism, the concept of ecology, the concept of universality and interrelationship, the concept of oneness, your oneness with you, with the other around you, including the non-living environment, is very deep. But we don't have that kind of patience, or somehow we are not looking deep into our own roots. We have to be very fashionable because everybody wants to talk of Socrates, Plato, everybody wants to quote that, but we don't want to quote what is already there. Of course, we have inherited some of the worst form of society, social order, like the caste system. But why do we have to stick to caste system? That was created for a society that existed thousands of years back. And why are we carrying that on our back? I have never understood. I fail to understand. Why is it now, let's take for example, a Brahmin who for generations have been drinking and not observing a single thing is still called a Brahmin. Okay, even in terms of the classification of what one should do and one should not do. So I think we have not actually tried we have not really worked towards getting rid of the ills that we have inherited, and nor we have really gone into depth into the jewel or the best of the things that we can contribute, even in terms of ecological democracy. If we read Ambedkar's book on Buddha, you will see so much rich ideas there, where the political scientists, social scientists could work on it and then come out with a development model which will be not only relevant to South Asia, but will be relevant to the whole world. We have seen the development by the Western world. We have already seen what they have created. They have created climate change, they have created global warming. So where is the next model? We are talking of ecological democracy now, or ecological models. But then we have certain things which we should be really, we can, but we need more study. I will end here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Swaraj Chalisir. And we are also having another speaker, Prasim Srivastava. At the same time, I request Pushpa Kandhar sir. Pushpa Kandhar sir. Pushpa Kandhar. Pushpa Kandhar. And Dr. Dev Kumar Guru and Professor Arun Kumar to be the commentator for the speech done by Professor Chalisir and Professor Srivastava. So now may I request Professor Srivastava to have highlights on the contextualizing ecological democracy in growth fundamentalisms. The time is 10 minutes, so that we can have more time on discussion and like. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.